Place of the Republican Party will host Vice President Kamala Harris as she visits Ripon tomorrow, addressing supporters at Ripon College.
Now, this comes just days after former President Donald Trump campaigned in two of the state's most liberal areas, Dane and Milwaukee counties. Chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman breaks down the strategy behind these decisions in Your Voice, Your Vote coverage.
On the eve of Vice President Kamala Harris visiting Ripon College, there's a ton of excitement, especially among students who say the announcement came as a big surprise that the location would even be considered for a campaign event.
I think it's kind of crazy, honestly, like small town Ripon coming out here, showing support. It's kind of crazy.
I think it's a huge thing. I mean, this is the birthplace of the Republican Party, and she's coming in here to say her thoughts, and I think that's huge. And it's great for the Ripon College campus since we got to get our name on the board out there, and I think this is a great thing nationally for us.
All across campus, preparations are now underway for the vice president's visit. Right behind me, police are blocking off roads, and campaign staffers are setting up barricades at the point of entry on Thursday. Students found out Tuesday when the school sent out an email announcing classes Thursday will be canceled for the event.
Some people have been a little bit irritated that their classes are canceled, but I think it's cool that they picked here.
On Tuesday, former President Trump held two events in Dane and Milwaukee counties, acting on the advice of former Wisconsin Governor Tommy Thompson.
You have to go where the votes are. You have to go where the opposition is. You have to come into Dane County, Milwaukee County, and southwestern Wisconsin.
Democrats now doing the same by visiting Fond du Lac County, which Democrats lost in the 2020 presidential race by more than 15,000 votes. Harris is expected to speak Thursday sometime after 3 o'clock. The event is invite only. Reporting in Ripon, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.